What's up, you guys? Nice to see you again. Welcome back. Amongst my Korean friends, I can definitely see a pattern that there's so many of them who doesn't support K-pop. Even some of them even hate K-pop. And I can totally relate to not want to support something that is mainstream. I have a hard time supporting those things as well. Like our Swedish pop culture is hard for me to support. But what Korea has to understand here is what K-pop has done to Korea as a country, and what K-pop has done to the whole world. How they have changed how people in general view Asians. I made videos before about why foreigners love K-pop and BTS. Check them out, by the way. What you have to understand is that right now, BTS is the biggest boy band in the world. In the 90s in Sweden, we had some cool critics, like cool journalists, who were supposed to know what is cool right now and what the cool new trends from outside and what is not cool and what you should not follow and what you should follow. And they were oftentimes criticizing what is mainstream in Sweden. And they basically controlled popular culture in Sweden because they had so much impact. And in the 90s we had two specific Swedish producers, music producers, Dennis Pop and Max Martin, and they basically produced all hit songs in the world. They were on top of the billboards and everywhere. And back then all the cool journalists were criticizing them and hating their music because they were so mainstream. But now we are making like nostalgia shows and programs and radio shows about that time. It's these kinds of journalists who are lifting them up and telling how amazing this area was in music history. And at the same time, these journalists are the ones who are lifting up K-pop right now on Swedish television and on Swedish radio shows. So my point is that you always want to bash on what is mainstream right now and what is popular in your country, because you can't see the bigger picture in the moment. In some years, maybe Korea is gonna look back on this time period on what it actually did to the world. Because just like 10 years ago, maybe even less, the Swedish TV show, and they had, in one specific episode, they had a short thing where they interviewed Swedish people on the street, and they tried to prove a point if we Swedish people thought that Asians were considered attractive. Because back then, we didn't have any reference. We only thought of Bruce Lee when we thought of Asians, or maybe Jackie Chan. Comedic martial arts actors who are like funny characters. So the point of the show was to like picture that we couldn't consider Asians as attractive in that specific segment of that show less than 10 years ago. Moving forward to now, then can you imagine what has happened to us Westerners when we now have a totally different view on how Asians and Koreans look like? We have so many perspectives. And K-beauty is so popular right now, so everyone wants to look like an Asian all of a sudden. So imagine what K-pop has done. Imagine what has happened in this such a short amount of time. Before, when we thought of just Asia, we just thought of maybe China, Japan, maybe even Thailand. We even thought that most people thought of North Korea when they actually thought of Korea. So we thought it was a poor country with like a leader who's brainwashing his people. And one other thing Korea needs to, from my point of view, understand is that for Koreans, it must be so cool and amazing to have your own identity that K-pop actually is. It's such a huge and cool identity. If you don't want to advertise it, or if you don't want to follow the trends and stuff, but maybe you should at least support K-pop for Korea's sake. Because Western people have never thought of Korea like this as they do right now. So for me, my point of view is that you should support K-pop while the wind is blowing. Because it's for Korea's sake as a country, and it's for Asians in general, and it's for the world. Korea has become such a powerful nation, and it changes how people look on Asians in general, which is gonna be remembered in the history books. I definitely think that right now we live in an era that's gonna be looked back on. How Korea and K-pop changed the whole view of Koreans and Asians. I don't think that the movie Crazy Rich Asians or Searching, it's Hollywood movies consisting basically only Asians in all parts, in the roles. I know how hard it can be to follow a popular trend in your own country. Maybe want to rebel on what's going on and that is mainstream, that everyone else likes. But try to see the bigger picture here. If you support K-pop, then you're part of history. You're part of an important time period that's gonna be looked back on as the most important time for Asians. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.